Welcome to virtual Japan as we are here today for round number 6.
Oh, Pearson gets into the 95 of Bolts. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona and away go for the first time. Nicholas Morcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Doms, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now as we've got 3 wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let it go very far.
Go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
See just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the YesterYear Racing Cup Series here at the Old Bastards Racing League. We're at Worldwide Technology Raceway, aka Gateway, ready for Sunday's main event. As always, I'm your host, James East. Bring the action 1080p, 60 frames a second, as it looks like our driver's getting gridded up and ready to go here. And let's go ahead and run you through the starting order for today. On pole is Josh Robbins, the number 23 machine. Tom B-Class Ogle starting second. Greg McDaniel starts third. Lloyd Moore starting fourth. Dan Hill starting fifth. Michael Watts starts sixth. Jerry Isaac starting seventh. Lee Warsdale starting eighth. Chris Bates starts ninth. TJ Rogers starting 10th. Jack Yeagerman starts 11th. Victor Lane starting 12th. Cycling on back. Dustin Martinson starting 13th. Alan Wanamaker starting 14th. Gavin Adams starting 15th. Michael Everhart starting 16th. Sean Foltz starting 17th. Tom Massey starting 18th. Andy Thomas starting 19th. Courtney Nelson starting 20th. And Dakota Grandpa Pischke will round out the 21-car grid here today. Now, to the fans out at home, I'll be doing my best to monitor the YouTube comment section while we're live. Currently doing this show on a remote setup due to a little bit of a motorcycle incident this past week, so had to make something happen where we could broadcast and have a foot propped up for the show. So we're going to do what we can with what we've got. And we are rolling out behind the iRacing safety car. That's going to be the two teammates, Ogle and Robinson, your front row. McDaniel and Moore will be the second row. Hill and Watts will make up the third row. We've got 130 laps on the board here today. If we can go green, and that's a big if, I think we're going to see a lot of drivers trying to make this a one-stop race. But I think if we have any cautions, especially after 20, 30 laps, you're going to see just about everybody coming down pit road, grabbing 4 fresh tires and aiming to get back out onto the raceway. Getting ready for that iRacing safety car to make its way down pit road. And we're going to wait on Barney, our flag man. And we are green flag racing at the Worldwide Technology Raceway Gateway. Robinson hold on to the race lead over his teammate Ogle. Moore looks like he's going to slide up here ahead of Greg McDaniel, getting a big run, that number 26 machine. McDaniel fires back the inside line, the bright yellow number 1. And I already saw somebody up against the wall there. Not quite sure who that was. As I think I just saw Michael Watson, number 84 machine, getting a little bit loose there in the 7th place position. Up front, the two teammates, Ogle and Robinson, side by side. We've got somebody having issues, though. It's going to be Sean Foltz going for a wild ride. He's able to hold on to it here. And thankfully, we will not bring out the caution, but getting very close to it early on, and we are going to have an incident. Lloyd Moore is going for a ride there, but somehow not seeing a caution for Moore. It's going to be further back. Alan Wanamaker also has issues, and that's what brings out the caution. So there's Lloyd Moore. He's going to have the incident first in the 26. But it's actually on Alan Wanamaker. It looked like he clipped the inside of the wall there. Let's get that queued up once more for the number 74 Toyota. He did. He got loose coming out into, I believe that's the start-finish line. And just lawn darted it against the safety barrier. We're going to have one caution early on here. Let's see who takes tires and who wants the track position. We got Mark Fish joining us in the spectator area. Looks like most drivers, just about everybody that wasn't involved in the incident, is going to stay out here. Try and get them lined back up, double file. All 21 drivers still out on track. It's going to still be Ogle, Robinson, your front row. McDaniel, now Dan Hill, your second row. Jerry Isaacs moving up 2 spots. Hill Company, Michael Watts on the third row. let's see, getting ready to send them back out. And we are green flag racing once more. The YesterYear Racing OBRL Cup Series, normally known for their long green flag runs, but with a tight and tricky track such as Gateway, I wonder if that's going to make for a little bit of an exciting evening. There was Greg McDaniel getting a little bit loose there out of 2. He's got Dan Hill and Jerry Isaacs side by side behind. Isaacs looking to make that pass stick, number 51. That would be his 3rd position gain so far here tonight. Hard Charger out on track. Looks like that's going to be Courtney Nelson, the 148. He is up 8 positions so far. Oh, and there was a huge checkup. Lee Warsdale was tied up in that one. I see Everhart, Nelson, Adams all bunched up around here. Thankfully, the field was able to get slowed up in time to avoid any sort of issue. Dustin Martinson's going to come down pit road. I wonder if that might be a self-served penalty here. If he was involved in a little bit of the action. Hill's moved up into 4th, number 7, Jerry Isaacs getting pushed back down to 5th, trying to pull up along the inside line of Hill. So your top 3, Ogle, Robinson, and McDaniel, running single file, have about a half-second advantage over Dan Hill sitting in 4th. But still great racing. If we go back to 14th, you've got Lloyd Moore and Dakota Pischke, but we've got problems for Courtney Nelson, the 148. Off track, but no caution there. Let's see what happened. Just gets loose on his own. Thankfully able to avoid any incident, further incident I should say, and very grateful for no caution. Andy Thomas picking up a pass from Victor Lane. Lane down 4 spots, now running 16th, but I think a lot of these drivers know with the early caution and already some big off-track moments, maybe not a big need here to push super hard, knowing that this might be one of those nights where it's going to be about attrition more than anything else. As I say that was Jack Yeagerman. The M&M's back 27, a huge moment there, and again, able to hold on to it. We are only 12 laps into this feature event, and drivers are really fighting the track more so than they are their competition, I think, here tonight. So I'm curious as well, maybe once these cars starting to tighten up a little bit, when the run progresses, the tires will get a little bit more worn in, and then I would imagine it might be easier to hold on to. It's going to be interesting to see if that comes into play. Up front, still Tom Ogle, chased by his teammate Robinson. McDaniel still sitting in 3rd. If we go back to 9th, Titanium Everhart having a good run so far. The number 17 gained 7 spots so far this evening. John Foltz, number 95 machine, picks up a pass against Lee Warsdale. So that's going to be Foltz, also 7 positions gained. So 3 hard chargers out on track. Everhart, Foltz, and Pischke have all gained 7 spots here tonight. Warsdale down 3 spots in the number 99 Ford Mustang. Not out of it yet, though. And I'm curious to see if we can get some long green flag runs. I think Warsdale, though, just had a moment, got loose, was able to hold on to the slide, but lost a fistful of time to Sean Foltz, who's working his way around the outside of Everhart. If we can get a green flag run, I think it's going to be a big if from what we've seen in the opening 17 laps here tonight. But if we can get that green flag run, I think you're going to start to see those that can save tires really starting to come through the field here. Ogle and Robinson, first and second, have been able to shake off Greg McDaniel, who sits 9/10 back. Robinson keeping the pressure up on that number 11, your race leader of Ogle. Dustin Martinson is back down pit road. Now, I don't show a pit stop, so it might have just gotten a little bit loose in 4 and triggered our pit entry sensor. We have a 3-car battle for 18th. Tom Massey, Gavin Adams, Jack Yeagerman, separated by about 0.3 of a second between the 3 of them. Yeagerman pulls up alongside Adams. Adams is going to be on the high line. Yeagerman down low. Massey's going to be looking in that rearview mirror, watching that battle unfold, hoping these guys use up a little bit more tires as they try to avoid bouncing off of each other out of turn 4 here at Gateway. A very good race that we're having for 19th. Yeagerman and Adams will not yield to each other. They're still about 0.4 off the back of a Massey's number 62 machine, so not losing too much time here running side by side. A little bit further ahead, TJ Rogers, Michael Watts having their own side-by-side battle for 6th. There's Rogers, number 72, Watts in the 84. Moving up into the field, checking it on 3rd place driver Greg McDaniel. He has lost the top 2 of Ogle and Robinson. They have pulled about a 1.5 advantage. And now McDaniel is under fire from Dan Hill, the MXPX back number 7 Chevrolet. That's also allowing Jerry Isaacs to close the distance a little bit in the number 51. Your top 5, they're about 1.1 seconds ahead of Michael Watts and TJ Rogers, who are linked up 6th and 7th. Now, we had some drivers let us know you can stretch it out to about 71 laps on a tank of fuel on these next-gen Cup cars here at Gateway. I think the big question is it going to be tire stops going to be the necessity more so than the fuel burn? I think that's going to be the case. Right now the pace is still good. Ogle only about a 0.5 second off his fastest lap of the race. Last time by, Ogle a 34.79. His fastest lap of the race was a 34.27. So I think the 2 Team Yada drivers running 1st and 2nd are just going to focus on hitting their marks here and not burning up too much tire. A very busy racetrack, though, back here for 16th. You've got Lane, Wanamaker, Adams, Massey, Jaegerman, all in the fray. And Jaegerman had an issue. I didn't quite see where it happened at the number 27. It looks like he got loose out of turn 2. Maybe a little bit of a money shift there and sends him sliding around. But again, thankfully, no caution with that solo incident. Dan Hill, Jerry Isaacs squarely on the back of Greg McDaniel's number 1 machine. Oh, and we've got somebody parked on the track there. That's going to be Dustin Martinson, the number 19, bringing out the second caution of the night. Well, looks like it's going to be a solo incident. Martinson was really struggling here. Gets loose out of turn 2, tags the cone, and was on the racing surface enough to warrant bringing out the full course caution here. Looks like everybody I can see is going to come down pit road. And again, it's going to be more so for tires, I think, than it is going to be for fuel. Now get an eye on the pit lane times. Looks like everybody that's coming in and out is taking 4 tires, so we're not going to see anybody looking for track position on this one. Little uncharacteristic to see 2 cautions so early into a feature event here at the YesterYear Racing Cup Series. And that is just indicative to how tough the track is to handle here. Now, we still have Alan Wanamaker in pit road for looks to be an extended stay here as the field gets gridded back up double file. Ogle and Robinson on that front row. The Wanamaker must have some extended repairs to make in the number 74 machine. He's in and out of his stall in 13 seconds, so it looks like all 21 drivers still going to be out on track as we have 20 who will be on the lead lap here. Pace car is in. Start's going to be on Ogle at number 11 on the right side of your screen, sponsored by White Claw. Green flag racing. Now let's see, cautions breed cautions. The field's going to stack up here. Isaacs and McDaniel side by side for third. You've got Watson Hill right behind as well. Oh, I just heard somebody crashing. And it's going to be Lee Warsdale tied up in that one, the number 99 Ford Mustang. Bringing out a quick caution as he's trying not to high center himself. Looks like Warsdale came in a little bit deep, got on the brakes to avoid getting into the back of Everhart, the number 17 machine, and just wasn't able to catch that slide in time. So a quick run here, third caution of the night. So we might be in for a long evening here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm curious if there is a rule here. If after so many cautions we end up going single file. So we're going to try it once more. Gridded up double file. 34 laps in. We've had 3 cautions thus far. All 21 drivers still out on track. It's going to be, again, Ogle and Robinson on the front row getting their restart practice dialed in here this evening. Let's see, safety cars down pit road. Ogle, a great start. Jerry Isaacs, also a great start. The number 51 machine. Looked like he had a big run up the inside line of Josh Robinson at turn 1. Robinson gets on the throttle. Holds on to second. McDaniel and Hill going side by side for 4th. You've also got Watts, Rogers, Bates, Everhart, Nelson all up in the fray here. Nelson's made it 11 positions gained so far. Every time we have a caution, it bunches the field back up and can lead to even more excitement here. McDaniel and Hill still side by side, can't get away from each other. Hill now back again, once again back into 5th. But if we go back to Sean Foltz, number 95 machine, he's also right here in the meat grinder. He's tucked in behind Nelson. And you've got Lloyd Moore trying to close back up. So great racing all throughout. It looks to be about the top 15. As McDaniel and Hill remain the 2 closest drivers out on track. McDaniel running that medium to high line, Hill down low. Looks like things kind of get a little bit settled here. And I'm trying to see who that was. That was Josh Robinson in second. Just set the fastest lap of the race, a 34.27. So he is ripping it on the throttle here, as we are not even to the halfway mark of today's main event. And we've had some really big crashes. Ogle enjoying the clean air out front, the number 11 machine. Robinson in second. Isaacs has moved up to that final podium position, the number 51 machine. Ooh, are we gonna go 3 wide? We're hinting at it. Courtney Nelson down on the bottom. Was looking to get around Chris Bates after Sean Foltz pushed wide, the number 95. I saw another off-track reported. It was Alan Wanamaker. Sean Foltz just had issues as well, and he's going to take a tow back to pit road, retiring from this event, I think. That, or I think Foltz may have hit the incident limit. A big hit there, and then Foltz disappears. Looks like he might have gotten DQ'd here. So unfortunately, Sean Foltz, pilot number 95 Ford, gonna get sent home early. I need to check my notes, but I'm fairly certain it's only a 7 incident point limit before drivers are put back behind that virtual pit wall. Good to see Pac-Man CT as well as Mark Fish hanging out in the spectator area, cheering on some friends here at the YesterYear Racing OBRL Cup Series. Oh, there's a crash right ahead. Courtney Nelson just got into the back of somebody. I think that might have been TJ Rogers. Let's get that replay queued up here. We're focusing in on Rogers right here in the 72. He gives a little bit of a shove to Watts. Nelson gets a hard impact to the back of the 84 machine, so that was Watts getting tagged from behind. But again, thankfully no caution on that one. Nelson and Pischke running 10th and 11th are hard chargers. They're both up 10 spots so far. Here comes Nelson with a big run up the inside line of Watts, the 84. And they're bumping and grinding here at Gateway. Right behind them, Adams and Rogers going to go side by side for 12th. Let's see, does Nelson have another big send up the inside line here? Nelson not going to be able to track down Watts this go around. Got to build back up some speed. And who did I just see up there? Was that Dan Hill? So Hill might have used up a little bit too much tire there in the number 7, and he's going the wrong way on the leaderboard. Also looks like up front, Robinson tracking down Ogle in the number 11. Now, Ogle and Robinson, they build up about 3/4 of a second over Jerry Isaacs, and they're still running within a 0.5 of a second or less than their fastest laps of the evening. So I think these two drivers really in a groove here, just clicking it off and trying to get to a situation where we might be able to get to a green flag stop. Now, just about everybody came down pit road on lap 26. So that means they shouldn't have to stop again until around lap 90 is when the fuel window will open. Around lap 100 is when it will close. But with what we've been seeing so far tonight, I personally am not super optimistic we're going to have those big green flag runs we're looking for. Rogers and Nelson side by side for 10th. Rogers qualified 10th, so taking back over his original position. Nelson, the 148, has been making big moves, but I wondered if he might have cooked the tires a little bit. And he answers immediately with Nelson firing back up the outside line of Rogers. And still side by side we go. Nelson looks like he's going to get clear here of Rogers. Another battle we have out on track, Greg McDaniel versus Dan Hill. And another caution. This time it's going to be Michael Watts, the number 84. Drags the wall a little bit, crossing the start-finish line. Pulls over, locks up, and takes a tow. I'm not quite sure what happened there to Watts. And it's going to be our fourth caution of the evening. It's been right about 26 laps since our last pit stop. And let me do a little bit of math up here in the booth. So with everybody, it looks like most people are going to come down pit road here. That still shows them about 7 laps short on fuel to make it till the end. And I'm curious, does anybody opt to stay out here, or is everybody going to come down pit road? Unfortunately, it looks like Watts is going to be retired from this event. He'll be joining Sean Foltz. As that is a very busy pit road as everybody's shuffling in to grab a little bit of fuel and 4 tires here. Looks like Robinson might be one of the first drivers off on pit road. Very interesting. So Robinson's going to be back out on front here. Ogle had a terrible pit stop. Everybody in front, on average, it's about a 14 to a 14.4 second pit stop for these next-gen Cup cars. Robinson with a 14.38, Isaacs a 14.72, McDaniel a 14.43. But Ogle was 3 seconds slower with a 17.22. So the White Claw back number 11 machine is going to get pushed back to 4th on this restart. Bring them back up, double file here at Gateway. So now it's going to be Isaac's number 51 machine accompanying Robinson on the front row. McDaniel and Ogle your second row. Hill and Bates will make up the third row. Jonathan Thier joining us going, man, 4 cautions already? Yeah, it's been a bit of a rough one here at Gateway. But we're still going to have 19 of our 21 entries out on track. Safety car down pit road. Let's see, can we get the long sought after green flag run? Or do we have some more fiberglass to sacrifice to the racing gods here? Isaacs and Robinson side by side down into turn 1. Ogle and McDaniel in hot pursuit. There's Dan Hill, the number 7 machine, looking for an opening as he sits in 5th. Not going to find it, though. Isaacs tucking in behind Robinson out front. Ogle trying to work the outside line against McDaniel. Hill follows suit. Oh, we just saw somebody get loose. That was Everhart, the number 17. He was able to hold on to it, though, as he loses his spot to Rogers and Nelson. But great save by Everhart. And I've got to say, Mike Everhart, one of those drivers I've been here a long time, 2-3 years, I think. He is by far and away improving every time we see that number 17 machine out on track. So very cool to see. Sitting back in 7th, TJ Rogers, the number 72 Ford, clicks off the fastest lap of the race, a 34.11. But Robinson and Isaac, your race leaders, 1st and 2nd, they just set their fastest laps of the race as well, so they're really getting up to pace here. Getting closer and closer to that halfway mark. Up front, Ogle and Isaac side by side for 2nd. Ogle wants to link back up with Robinson. They were able to build a healthy gap earlier on. And now Dan Hill wants a piece of the action, leaning on the inside line of Isaacs. Hill trying to muscle his way up into 3rd. Chris Bates is going to go for a wild ride. Number 81 able to catch the slide, though. A huge save for the number 81. He's going to lose a few spots here to Nelson, Everhart, Moore, but the fact that he was able to save that, extremely impressive. Hill and Isaac still side by side for 3rd. Hill's going to be on the inside line. Isaac's up against the wall. And Hill makes the pass and makes it clean. Robinson and Ogle, your race leaders, have checked out a little bit. They've got about a half second over 3rd place back. .63 laps in. We've got 2 laps left to go before we get to the halfway mark. Bummer to see Sean Foltz join us in the spectator area. And I appreciate Foltz's feedback. That's probably the best description I've heard of a car wanting to snap loose is, it's fine until it's not. Hill and Isaacs linked up nose to tail, third and fourth, trying to track down Robinson and Ogle. Isaacs going to take a peek to the inside line of Hill here, the battle for third. This time by drivers will be displayed the cross, green and white flag signaling the halfway mark of today's main event. So Hill able to hold on to that third place position. Isaac sitting in fourth. Greg McDaniel rounds out the top five. Hard Charger out on track. Still Courtney Nelson, the 148. He has been able to gain 14 positions here. Now a reminder to the fans, triple-digit drivers not able to qualify, so Nelson had to start towards the back, work his way forward. And in a night where we've seen so many drivers accumulate penalty points rather quickly, I think everybody's got to be very careful here. Still a lot of racing left at Gateway. Ogle and Robinson nose to tail, the two teammates wanting to keep that freight train going forward. Now we still have great racing across the track. If we go back to Gavin Adams, he is being chased by Jack Yeagerman, Chris Bates, Lee Warsdell. Victor Lane barely outside the frame, but he's starting to catch up to him. Oh, and right as we pan to him, how's that for timing? Gavin Adams goes for a wild ride. Victor Lane takes evasive maneuvers. What a great save and avoidance by Victor Lane and Andy Thomas as Gavin Adams, the Kubota back number 30 Chevy, a huge moment. And that just brings testament to how true it was that Sean Fulton, the spectator area, after having to retire early, the car just wants to snap loose. It's fine till it's not. And that was a live demonstration for the fans out there. And the car snapping loose, it's almost reminiscent when these next-gen Cup cars first came out and first came to iRacing. It would seem like they would tend to bind up and then kind of uncork themselves mid-corner. And that is almost identically what we're seeing here tonight. Courtney Nelson looking to continue his run as he pulls up alongside McDaniel. TJ Rogers, number 72 machine, watching behind. McDaniel helps to facilitate that pass. I think he's in tire saving mode here, thinking of the long run. But now TJ Rogers is going to try and get around that number 1 machine. $60 laps left to go, so we are officially past the halfway mark. Isaacs all over the back of Dan Hill. Now they are about a second and a half ahead of Courtney Nelson in 5th. I'm curious to see what type of long run strategy Nelson has here, as we've got more dicey moments. Gavin Adams, Tom and Massey side by side. And something else we haven't mentioned earlier after Adams' big spin, if you overheat these tires with a little bit of wreck avoidance, it can take a while for these things to cool back down, those tires to cool back down. Isaacs and Hill side by side. A very heated battle for third here. Isaacs working the inside line against Hill. Hill's trying to carry a little bit more corner speed, but Isaacs slides up in front of the number 7 machine, stopping the run. So Isaacs will be able to hold on to third here, but he is at a second disadvantage to the top 2 drivers. And all the while, Courtney Nelson closing that gap behind in the 148. Hill doing everything he can to keep up with Isaacs. And still he's sitting about 4 tenths back from the number 51. Looks like 5th place driver Courtney Nelson still about 1.3 back. Now, Nelson's been very, I don't want to say aggressive because that's not really a description. He's been, I guess, aggressive on trying to get forward by how fast his lap times have been. Driving very clean, the 148. But I'm worried that Nelson might be burning up a little bit more tire as he's hanging around that 1.2 seconds back from the top 4. You can see Greg McDaniel, the number 1 machine, so I think at this point, Nelson is going to be hoping for another late race caution, or I guess mid to late race caution at this point, to kind of get a little bit of a tire reset. He's got the pace, I think, to run with the top 4 drivers, but tires is going to be the big issue. Jaegerman and Bates linked up 10th and 11th. Jaegerman's up 1 spot from where he qualified. Bates is down 2. Looks like Jaegerman and Bates starting to catch up to Everhart, the number 17. Everhart up 7 spots, has been able to work his way up into 9th, but now he's got company from the 27 of Jaegerman, the 81 of Bates. And here we go, Jaegerman looking at the inside line of Titanium. Everhart helps facilitate that pass. He knows that the number 27 of Jaegerman was closing very, very fast here. Now at this point, if any driver has to come down pit road, they will be far and away good on fuel till the end. Bates gonna try and work that inside line against Everhart in the battle for 10th. Everhart falling back to 11, so this is the tire wear we were talking about. I also see Lee Warsdale, the 99 machine. He had a rough start earlier on. There's Warsdale making up a little bit of ground here. from Everhart. So I think this is the point of the race. You're really starting to see the drivers who weren't able to save tires start to fall down that leaderboard 1 or 2 positions at a time. Up front, it's still Robinson, Ogle, Isaacs, 1, 2, 3. Hill and Nelson rounding out the top 5. I just heard some sliding around there. Wonder if Pischke is having some sort of internet issue there, the number 4. Jaegerman and Bates about to do battle for 9th. They've got Lee Warsdale about 4 tenths behind them here. Warsdale's gonna be hoping they start to slow the pace down, burn up their tires a little bit, and allow that 99 machine to get back in the fray here. Well, we're about to have a 3-car battle for 9th. Jaegerman shows ahead by 0.03 of a second, but Bates is going to have the inside line against the 27. Keep an eye out. There's Lee Warsdale wanting to capitalize on this situation. Bates back ahead. No, Jaegerman's going to be 1/100th of a second or less at the line. Looks like driver's getting a little bit snap loose there again. But now that things have calmed down just slightly here in the top 10, Jaegerman's up into 9th, Bates sitting 10th, Lee Warsdale in the 11th place spot. Warsdale looked a little bit deep there coming into turn 3. And it looks like Bates not going to let Jaegerman go here. He's going to make a big run. Does he try something in turn 1? No, he's going to stay tucked in behind Jaegerman for a little while longer to keep that momentum built up. Less than 50 laps left to go in today's main event. We've been able to get a little bit of a green flag run going here, about 35 laps. That might be one of the longest runs we've seen of the night. Very uncharacteristic for these drivers. And I'm sure now that I've said something nice, we'll immediately have somebody snap loose at a turn 2 and careen into a wall. But hopefully these drivers can keep it up, as long green flag runs is what we've grown accustomed to here at the YesterYear Racing OBRL Cup Series. Bates trying to build back up a run against Jaegerman. I wonder how the dirty air is affecting Bates here. If that's causing a car that might already be getting tight to get a little bit worse here. And I do want to check something out. We go on board with Josh Robinson. Let's see if Robinson's grabbing any downshifts here. Staying in 4th so far through 1 and 2. Let's see about through turns 3 and 4 if he clicks down to 3rd. There's a little bit of lap traffic ahead for your race leader, Robinson. So looks like he's going to stay in fourth all the way through here. Now we've seen on other tracks throughout the run, drivers will grab a downshift to help the car rotate. Does not seem to be the case here at Gateway. Looks like everybody was able to get around traffic there. I just saw Jaegerman lose a ton of time. And lost the position to Bates and Warsdale, I believe. I wonder. Yes, that is exactly what happened. Jaegerman with a big moment. Thankfully, he was able to hold on to it. We've had some great saves here tonight. I know that's not how some of the drivers want to make the highlight reel, but tip of the hat and credit due where it is. And a little bit further back, I see Victor Lane starting to work his way forward a little bit. He's got Everhart and Jaegerman, two drivers that I believe have been really fighting the tires here in the race, and we are going to interrupt that with the fifth caution of the night. Alan Wanamaker has obliterated the front end of the number 74 Krispy Kreme Toyota. The car snaps out of two and just pulverizes. Watch that once more. Yeah, the car just binds up, and unfortunately when it unsprings, pointed right towards that safety barrier. And I think you're about to see everybody come back down pit road, knowing that everybody's gonna be good on fuel, and then it's gonna be about a 30-lap shootout on fresh tires for everybody. Robinson gonna lead the field down pit road. See if there's any big changes on pit road. Looks like nothing out of the ordinary. First through 14th. Really the entire field on a fourth stop strategy. Not seeing any big highs or big lows. Pischke was in his pit stall for 26 seconds getting some repairs done. Alan Wanamaker, unfortunately, I think that number 74 is going to have an extended stay on pit road. And that may make it 18 drivers out on track. So with this slightly over 30 lap shootout, it's going to be Robinson and Isaacs on the front row, Ogle and Hillier second row, Rogers and McDaniel will make up the third row. Ready to back up double file. Wait for that safety car to come down pit road as it leads our field down the backstretch. And here we go. It's going to be a shootout here at Gateway. Jerry Isaacs with a great start on the outside line, the number 51, taking over the race lead. Robinson now showing in second. Going to try and work the inside line against the 51. Isaacs careful to avoid tagging the outside wall. Robinson's going to send it in deep here into turn 3. But can he get clear? Isaacs covers the inside line. Isaacs trying to be defensive against both Robinson and Ogle, second and third. Isaacs squeezing every 100th of a second he can out of that number 51 machine. And he's going to get very well and clear here for the race lead. So now it's going to be Isaacs, Robinson, Ogle, 1, 2, 3. Dan Hill and TJ Rogers rounds out the top 5. Still 19 drivers out on track of the 21 who entered. But I would not be surprised to see another caution before it's all said and done here tonight, especially if you've got everybody back out on track, fresh tires underneath them, knowing that it's going to be a mad dash till the end. Somebody got a little bit loose in the background. I think that might have been Hill, the number 7. That's going to give the top 3 drivers about a half-second breakaway behind Hill. That's Rogers, McDaniel, Moore, Bates, Nelson, Warsdale, all in a tidy pack here. Nelson working the inside line against Chris Bates in the battle for 8th. Robinson sitting in second place, just set the fastest lap of the race, a 33.9. Your top 3 drivers all below that 34-second lap time. That's right around what we were seeing in qualifying from these guys. Bates able to hold on to the 8th place spot. Nelson still sitting in 9th. Oh, a big check up there from Nelson. Lee Warsdale also has the hop on the binders. Panning back up front, Robinson still trying to work the inside line against Isaacs. Now is Robinson trying to make a pass here, or is he just trying to get Isaacs to burn up his tires before the checkered flag is out? Ogle still sitting in third, watching the number 23 machine do the brunt of the pushing here. Trying to get around Isaacs. Nelson doing everything he can to get around Bates in that number 81. And Bates is going to make him work for every foot of track position. That's stacking things up slightly from 8th place back. Horsdale, Jaegerman, Adams starting to close the gap. But the top 4 really bunching up here. Really the top 5. There's Rogers, number 72 machine on that inside corner panel of Dan Hill's number 7. Rogers very mindful not to push wide there in that corner. Doesn't want to tag Hill and cause an incident. Robinson trying every line he can against Jerry Isaacs. Now the outside line to see if he can build up some speed against the 51. Looks like he's going to do it. Robinson, once again, your race leader. Ogle gives a bit of a push there to Isaacs. As next time by, it's going to be 25 laps left to go here at Gateway. Your top 5, Robinson, Isaacs, Ogle, Hill, and Rogers. A little bit further back, we still have great racing just inside the top 10. Warsdale and Jaegerman going back and forth. Warsdale taking back over the 10th place spot as number 99 against Jaegerman's 27. Gavin Adams sitting right in the background, the number 30 machine. Doesn't seem too antsy to charge forward here. Oh, Warsdale way up against the wall. I'm not sure if he missed the mark, as there's almost contact between him and Jaegerman. Oh, things are about to be getting frantic here. Robinson out front, 3/10 of an advantage over Jerry Isaacs. Ogle pouting the white claw back, number 11. Trying to get around Isaacs, but he has company from behind with Hill and Rogers. Now I'm curious to see if Hill and Rogers can be able to try something here. It looks like Greg McDaniel, the number 1 machine, starting to reel in this top 5 as well. I saw somebody sitting on the inside wall there. Not quite sure who that was. The top 6 running within about 1.5 seconds of each other. Courtney Nelson in 7th. Our Hard Charger is up 13 spots. He's starting to reel in this pack, as well as Lloyd Moore and Chris Bates. So next time by, it's going to be 20 laps left to go, and I still think it's anybody's guess on how this one's going to turn out. Two of the closest drivers out on track, Hill and Rogers, 4th and 5th. Hill's about 1/4 second off the tail of Tom Ogle. But at this point, drivers know that the laps are going to be rapidly dwindling here at Gateway. Play the top 5, getting a little bit of a breakaway from McDaniel sitting in 6th. McDaniel, well, I say that, he was about 6/10 off the back of Rogers, closes it within 4/10, then it goes back to 6/10. So even though it's been a short run since that last caution on lap 94, I think already you're going to see some drivers burning up those tires, trying to make something happen here at the very end of this thing. "17 laps here at Gateway left to go. The top 5 still very much bunched together. Courtney Nelson, the 148, starting to reel in Greg McDaniel, who sits in 6th. McDaniel, he's about 3/10 off the back of TJ Rogers, so very close to a possible top 5. And I think anybody who's sitting within this top 7 at this point has a still good chance of winning it. We've seen some late race cautions and incidents before here. The YesterYear Racing OBRL Cup Series really throws some audible plans into things. This is going to be a shootout, I think, here rather quickly. Robinson still out front, 4/10 up over Isaacs. Ogle in 3rd, chased by Dan Hill. Rogers is within a half second or so of Hill. You've got McDaniel and Nelson linked up 6th and 7th. Had somebody up against the wall there. I think that may have been Nelson, the 148, offline a little bit. $13 to go. Robinson's pulled a 7/10 advantage. Isaac's doing everything he can to hold on to that 2nd place spot. Ogle and Hill, very hot pursuit. And I want to pan back a little bit further to the, looks to be very intense battle we have going on for 11th. You've got Jaegerman, Adams, Everhart, Lane, Amasi, Thomas, Pischke, all nose to tail here, 11th through 17th. Still 19 of our 21 drivers out on track. It's not a terrible night for attrition. despite the amount of cautions that we've seen here. As Robinson pulls up to the line, we make it 10 laps left to go. Look at that tidy pack here from 13th back. Everhart, Lane, Amasi, Thomas, and Pischke, and quite the tight bundle. Robinson, your race leader, still 3/4 of a second up over the rest of the field. Thankfully, Robinson isn't going to have too much lap traffic to contend with in the closing laps here at Gateway. But the top three still not decided, I don't think. Ogle has Dan Hill right behind him. Ogle trying to hammer down with everything he has. Isaacson 0.3 of a second up. 9 laps left to go now. Are we going to make it to the final stage without another caution? Or will we end up using a green-white checker attempt here tonight? Robinson's pulled a 1.1 second gap for the rest of the field. Isaacs, Ogle, Hill, second, third, and fourth, separated by less than a half second between the three of them. And while this is going on, looks like Lane has just briefly made a spot against Everhart. Has the check up, though. I think Everhart might have gotten up against the wall. Adams was able to skate through the number 30 machine. And I got to pan back up front. We've got a battle for third. Hill has taken over the third place spot, edging out Tom Ogle. Ogle dragging the wall a little bit there. If we're going to see an incident, though, I think it's going to be here in this battle for 12th. Adams and Lane side by side. Amasi and Thomas right here in the fray as well. Everhart sitting in 12th, wants to hammer down. We've got somebody off track. It's going to be Lee Warsdale. Oh, don't come out onto the surface. We don't want to see a caution. The 99 machine's going to keep it rolling here somehow, some way. I think Warsdale is going to be able to limp it down to pit road here. Lane and Adams still side by side as they cross the start-finish line. Tom Amasi, the number 62 machine, trying to get a piece of the action. Everhart, the number 17, he's in that rearview mirror, just thankful that he has gotten out of that meat grinder. Lee Warsdale did make it down pit road under his own power, so we're going to stay caution-free for a little while longer here. And it looks like, very briefly, it showed Lee Warsdale had made a pass against somebody. I'm not quite sure how that happened. But we're 5 laps left to go. I think Nelson might have burned up his tires here in the 148, and he's got pressure from Lloyd Moore. 4 laps left to go. Robinson has about a second advantage over Jerry Isaacs. Dan Hill hold on to that final podium spot, wanting to fend off Tom Ogle. Now, if we can take the white flag, if the leader can take the white flag before there's another incident, we will not use any of our green-white checker caution attempts here this evening. Three laps left to go. Still, drivers are going to be battling for a personal best here tonight. You're watching Nelson and Moore battling for the 7th place position. Nelson, our hard charger, up 13 spots. You still have a frantic battle for 11th as well. Everhart, Lane, Adams, Amasi, Thomas, All separated by less than a second here. There's Lane, who's built up some momentum, trying to get around Everhart, knowing that any mistake will allow Adams or Thomas to try and capitalize. Thomas made the pass against the number 62 of Tom Massey. Robinson down the back stretch, holding on to a 9/10 advantage. Let's see, does Lane try and set up against Everhart in turn 3 here? He's going to be deep on the brakes, the number 10. Tries to pull up alongside Everhart. Side by side we go for 11th. White flag is out here at Gateway. Robinson still ahead, 9/10 of a second. Isaacs has 3/10 up over Dan Hill. Lane is going to get clear here of Everhart, taking over that 11th place position. Right behind them, that's Thomas and Adams side by side. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Josh Robinson picks up the win. Jerry Isaacs in second, and Dan Hill will round out the top 3. We're going to get everybody lined up here on the start-finish line for some celebratory photos, and then Josh Robinson's going to burn it down here. And Robinson, a very well-deserved win. Definitely had to work for it here tonight. And Robinson burning it down. The Micro Center back, number 23 Ford Mustang. A very well-earned win here tonight. Started off a little bit rough for these drivers, ended up with a great race breaking out at the end of it. We're waiting on our top 3 drivers to get up here to victory lane. And then we will get things fired off with our podium celebrations. Looks like we've got Dan Hill join us, so let's get things started. Third place finisher Dan Hill, the number 7 MXPX. Welcome back, my friend. It was a rough start, but you guys had a clean race break out there at the end.
Yeah, this car was something else here tonight. It was it felt like they put oil down on the track or something because it was sliding all over the place. I'm actually surprised it was as clean as it was.
Dan, it kind of reminds me when we first made the switch to the next-gen Cup cars, where drivers were complaining that the car would kind of bind up mid-corner, then snap loose, and that seemed to be what you guys were facing here tonight at Gateway.
Yeah, I mean, there was no grip anywhere. I mean, you tried to run the top line, there was nothing, and it was just when I first got into the session and I took my first entrance into the corner. I mean, it just went straight to the wall. I was trying to be easy, just trying to get warmed up, and I don't know. it felt like I had to come to a complete stop and then floor it coming off, and it was really, really hard because there was no grip. I mean, you couldn't floor it, and it was sketchy at best.
Well, it definitely looked like we saw so many big saves and quite a few incidents out there, but good to have you back up here in the top three. And Dan, before I let you go and unwind from this one, who do you want to give a shout to that helped put you back up here in the top three?
Oh, as always, my shout out to my teammates, Josh, Tom, John Hinchcliffe, Brian Lynch, Dale Copeland, all those guys at Team Yada. We share a lot of information together. It really, really helps out. Um, shout out to my wife for letting me race all the time, and shout out to you guys for all the broadcasting you guys do. You guys are broadcasting is excellent, and shout out to also Victor because he's a awesome league owner and has really made this thing keep going.
Well, awesome. Dan, always a pleasure, buddy. A great time talking to you, and congrats on third here tonight.
Yeah, thanks, James.
Thank you, sir. That was Dan Hill bringing it home. And third up next, we've got Mr. Jerry Isaacs join us in second. Jerry, a great race, and it looked like those cautions kind of helped you out a little bit there in the 51.
Oh, actually, well, the early cautions did allowed me to gain some position, but that last caution I did not want to see. I was hoping, actually, we stayed green. I know I was rolling third, but I know I had enough fuel, and I was catching the guys in front because I think they had to fuel save a little bit.
Yeah, and it seemed like it's one of those weird situations where everybody has a strategy. It's thrown out the window about 4 or 5 different times. And at what point do you kind of get that strategy dialed in at the race and say, all right, this is the one we're sticking to if we can go green?
That's when you make your last pit stop and you run out of tires and you say, okay, I got no more tires. I'm not pitting anymore.
Well, yeah, and it seemed like a green flag run broke out by accident there for quite a while. So were you thinking at that point, I mean, you said you thought you had the tire and fuel underneath you. Did you think we were going to finally get that green flag run we were looking for?
Yeah, I really thought so. I mean, I always struggle the first, 20 laps of a run. And so I was thinking we'd stay green. We'd stayed green for a long time. And I was hoping we did. We didn't. And then actually just got a really good restart, but just didn't have the speed to stay in front of Josh.
Well, hey, always a great time having you up here. Still a good result for that number 51 in the second spot here tonight. And Jerry, before I let you go, sign off and celebrate a little bit, who do you want to give a shout out to that helped put you up here in second?
Thanks, man. Of course, you guys at Team Goon Squad for the broadcast. My mom loves it. I appreciate it. And YesterYear Racing, check them out, YesterYearRacing.com. They have a great series as well, lead sponsor for here. OBRL Racing League, my Mad Spartan sim racing colleagues that put me in the car. And last of all, as always, man, hi, Mom.
Awesome. Jerry, always a pleasure, bud. And hopefully we'll have you up here next week.
Unfortunately, I'm out of town. It's Sonoma. I really wanted to race it, but I'm going to have to miss that race. But I'll be back in a couple weeks.
Well, then we'll see you then, my friend.
All right. Take care, man. Good talking to you.
You as well, sir. That was Jerry Isaacs bringing it home. And second up next, the man, the myth, the legend, Josh Robinson. Welcome back to the top spot and definitely had to earn it here tonight.
Yeah, this is a tough track to restart on that bottom, and Jerry made good use of that on that last restart, and before that, Tom was running extremely well. So this did not come without a lot of effort.
Yeah, it seemed like out of nowhere, Isaacs had a spectacular launch. And I mean, historically before that, the first 4 or 5 times, it seemed like you had it dialed in. But it seemed like as well, Josh, drivers were kind of getting geared up for a night of short runs. Then all of a sudden we had a green flag run. And I think that's where we saw a lot of guys that were starting to think, oh, I should have saved some tires here.
That's exactly the case. We get a couple cautions early on, and the car was really unbalanced tonight with what we had to work with. So before the track cooled down, it was a little sketchy of a car on corner exits. So I'm sure you've seen that early on with the cautions. But yeah, that first long run that we had, where it took us to about lap 80 or something like that, it was hard to know whether or not we needed to pit because we were if we did pit, that was going to be our last tire set. So our bed was made if we did go in. And fortunately, when Tom and I ducked in there, the rest of the field came. So no one really got off schedule tonight. I think if maybe we get a caution maybe 10 laps earlier, we would have seen some wrenches thrown into it.
And Josh, I'm glad you talked about the car because I was discussing that a little bit with Jerry and Dan as well. And you will probably remember better than most, but when we first got the Next Gen Cup cars on iRacing, it seemed like the cars would bind up like a coil and then snap loose out of nowhere. And I think it was Sean Foltz said in the spectator area, and it's one of my favorite quotes I've gotten from tonight is, it felt great until it wasn't. Like there wasn't a lot of heads up when you guys were about to be fighting the car.
That's exactly the case. It had that snap loose condition back tonight, and when I actually the first 2 practice laps I took, I did not complete. So I spent a good part of practice making it do that, so I could get comfortable when it was well, exactly like Sean said. Right up to the point where it started to not feel good, just so I would know what that was in the race.
Well, Josh, good to have you back up here, back-to-back weeks, extending that points lead over your teammate Ogle. And before I let you sign off and celebrate, who do you want to give a shout to that helps put you in the top spot here this evening?
Oh, shout out to my teammates over at Team Miata. We had Dan, Tom, and I had some good runs tonight. Shout out to all the league members and to all the admins. The guys put in a lot of work in, and shout out to the title sponsors with YesterYear Racing, and then you guys for doing the broadcast.
Josh, always a pleasure, bud. Hopefully we'll have you up here next week after Sonoma, maybe in the top 3, because I know you sometimes don't love the road courses, but always a pleasure talking to you, sir.
I appreciate it, James. Have a good week.
You as well, sir. That was Mr. Josh Robinson bringing it home in the top spot here at Worldwide Technology. He was accompanied by Jerry Isaacson second and Dan Hill rounding out the top 3. On behalf of the Old Bastards Racing League, YesterYear Racing, Butt Kicker, and Victory Lane Sports, as well as Top Flight Computers, my name has been James East. Thank you all so much for spending your Sunday night with us, and we'll see you at the next one. Have a great night, everybody.